Let's look at a case study in order to answer the question 2 in quiz 2. Take the same steps when applying your answer and your steps in quiz 2, question 2. In this question 2 in quiz 2, we are establishing a pre-sale loan and a gap loan. And we're looking at a movie that is budgeted at about $10 million. When we look at the sales estimates later, we're going to see that under the international take column, we are looking at a number of 7,340,000 to be generated through international distribution rights. That does not include the US, this is just international. And it's also not the ask price, it is just the take price. And then we're going to look at the pre-sale agreements. What pre-sales has our sales agent established prior to us producing the movie? What pre-sales were established based on the script, on the cast, on the director, on the budget range, and potentially also the producer? And what are the buyers in these various territories willing to pay for this movie under these project elements? So in our situation here, we did a pre-sale to an Australian buyer for $200,000. We did a pre-sale to an English buyer for $700,000, to a French buyer for $600,000. Germany pre-bought the movie for $900,000. Italy for $400,000. Spain as well for $400,000. Benelux for $150,000, and Portugal pre-bought our movie based on the project elements being the script, the cast, and the budget range at $120,000. So these were pre-sale agreements that were established before the movie is made, basically just based on the script and the talent and the budget range. And that happens every day. So we call these pre-sale agreements because they are done before the movie is produced, and they are used to generate the first funding to cover a portion of our budget. Now in this case, the total pre-sales came to $3,470,000. These were the pre-sale distribution agreements that were generated by our sales agent based on the script and the cast and the director and the budget range. Now we are taking these agreements to a bank, and the bank will look at the distribution agreements as an asset, and they will give us a loan against them. And in this case, they will charge us a 12% interest reserve plus a $50,000 loan fee. And both of this is deducted from the loan amount that is being made available to us to then cover a portion of the budget. The pre-sale agreements are an asset that the bank values as a collateral, but they're also looking at the rights that we have not sold yet, the unsold rights. And they will also give us a loan for that. And they'll look at the unsold rights and give us a 50% loan for the value, also charging a 12% interest and deducting that from the loan amount. So the question now is, what is our total bank loan that we will get net of all these fees and have available to us to then use as a portion that we can cover our budget with? So let's look at our sales estimates for this $10 million movie. So what the sales agent did, they read the script, they look at our cast that we have attached, they look at the director we have attached, and they're acknowledging the fact that the movie is supposed to be made for around $10 million. And based on that, they issue sales estimates to us in the ask column and the take column. The ask column is basically the license fee the sales agent will ask the distributor in each of these countries to pay. And the take column reflects the minimum that we want to see the sales agent generate and the minimum the sales agent will accept for any of these territories when they sell them. So they're going to talk to all these distributors representing all these countries and having a conversation about their sale of the distribution rights to the buyers in these countries. So let's start with the US. US and Canada here is estimated to generate 35% of the budget, so that's $3.5 million if we sell this movie to a US buyer like a Netflix, who could maybe buy the US or Canada. So that's an assumption. That's an estimate. We haven't actually sold it yet. It's just something that the sales agent says, I believe I can make you $3.5 million in the worst case scenario on your movie. Now, if all goes well, I'll ask Netflix to give us $6.5 million. Or maybe I ask HBO, or maybe I ask Lionsgate. So what we're talking about here are buyers that could be a studio like Lionsgate, which is a mini major studio, or it could be a streamer like Netflix or Amazon, or it could be a network station like HBO or Showtime. Those buyers would buy the movie for a certain amount, and that amount is reflected here as an estimate. And then we have all the other countries where the same applies. There might be a studio, a streamer, or a network buyer looking at our movies to say, we would like to buy the licensing rights for my country, being Australia, being South Africa, being England, being France, for my country because I'm a distributor in that country and I want to buy a license from you, the sales agent, to exclusively release this movie in my territory. And releasing means they might put it into the theaters, they might put it into the theaters or in the network station or in the streamers, all three of them. So these licensing rights represents all these rights that are being bought for a certain period of time, and this is the price that we expect the sales agent to generate from us, and this is the price the sales agent expects to generate. Again, there's two price columns here. The ask is the price that the distributor will be asked to pay, and the take is the low worst case scenario number that we will not go under in order to sell these territories. So when we look at this, we're going to look at the international rights particularly because that is the rights our bank will look at when they give us a loan. And since this is a question about what are we getting from a bank as a loan, we need to look at that. So the international rights at the take column are 7,240,000. So that's the loan number that the bank will look at in regards to anything and everything we do with them. So let's look at our sales estimates and then look at the pre-sales. What kind of pre-sales have we generated? So what happened here is our sales agent went to, let's say, the American Film Market or the Cannes Film Festival, and they took our script and our cast and our director and the budget range of $10 million to have conversations with all these various buyers that I mentioned earlier. So it turns out that some of these buyers were actually very excited about the project and they pre-bought it. So they pre-bought the right to release this film in their territory exclusively. So when I talk about buyers, those could be distributors like a studio, a streamer, or a network station, or a buyer who buys all these rights. So what happened now is at the market where the sales agent presents a project based on the script and the talent and the budget range, certain buyers pre-bought it. So pre-sales were generated. An Australian buyer bought our movie for $200,000. A buyer from England bought the movie for $700,000. A buyer from France bought the movie for $600,000. And then there is a German buyer who bought the movie for $900,000. A buyer from Italy pre-bought it for $400,000. A buyer from Spain paid $400,000. A buyer from Benelux paid $150,000. And then there is a Portugal buyer who paid $120,000 to pre-buy the distribution rights of our film to release the film in their territory. So altogether, we have generated $3,470,000 in pre-sales. In pre-sale distribution agreements, these are regular distribution agreements that are generated before the film is produced. If they would be generated after the film is produced and being shown, let's say screened at the American Film Market or at the Cannes Film Festival because it's finished and now we're screening it, it will be the same deal. It's just a sale instead of a pre-sale. So this pre-sale distribution agreement doesn't look any different than any other distribution agreement. It's just the timing that differs. The sale is done before the film is produced. That's why it's called a pre-sale versus a sale. Now, when we look at our international rights at the take column, which is the $7,240,000 number, and we deduct the pre-sales that have now happened, and those rights are no longer available, we have to deduct $3,470,000 from the $7,240,000 to then see what is still left to sell after the movie is finished. So when I take 7,240,000 and I deduct 3,470,000 in sales that I made, I can still sell $3,770,000 as rights. And that is why the unsold rights number here is $3,770,000. And both of those numbers are very important. The pre-sales of $3,470,000 we will take to the bank and they give us a loan for that. And then the unsold rights, the rights we can still sell that are left after the pre-sales, are taken out of this Excel sheet, of this estimate sheet, are $3,770,000. Those can still be sold, and that is a number the bank will also finance a loan for. And here's what that's going to look like in the next slide. So let's look at the first loan first, which is the pre-sale loan. We've established that we have $3,470,000 in pre-sales from all these territories that are listed here. So the bank then says, that is great, you're bringing me contracts worth $3,470,000, that's fantastic. I'm going to charge you a 12% interest on that, which I will hold back as a reserve. I will also charge you a loan and legal fee of $50,000, which I will also hold back. So what I will give you, me, the bank, to you, the producer, is $3,306,600 as a net pre-sale loan amount. So the $3,470,000 is all our contracts, right? These are all the pre-sale contracts that we have. Then we deduct all the fees, the interest fee of $416,400 and the loan and legal fee, and then we have a net loan amount. And that net loan amount is what is available to us to use and cover a portion of our production budget with. So now let's look at the gap loan, which is the loan against the unsold rights. So as we mentioned earlier, we have international sales estimates of a total of 7,240,000. That was the total number at the take that our sales agent said he or she can generate for a movie worst case scenario. Then they went to the Cannes Film Festival and the American Film Market and maybe also the Berlinale and some other of the meaningful film markets where distribution rights are sold, and they generated pre-sale distribution agreements based on the script and the talent and the budget range in the amount of $3,470,000. So what is left that we can still sell? 7,240,000 minus 3,470,000 is 3,770,000. So that is what the bank will look as a potential amount that they consider a collateral. But they don't give us the entire amount. They will only ever give us 50% of the unsold rights. Of the unsold rights amount that is 3,770,000, we would only get 1,885,000 as a bank loan for this portion. They always just give us half. That's the maximum we'll get. So then, of course, they're not going to do this just for fun. They're also going to charge us an interest here. So they're going to deduct the interest reserve of $226,200 from this amount, leaving us with a gap loan of $1,658,800. So again, this number is generated by what is left in unsold rights. In our national total take estimates was 7,240,000. We deducted the pre-sales. All these rights are now gone. They're no longer available, so we can't deal with them anymore. So we just have to look at what can we still sell, and that is the unsold rights. So when we take our international sales estimates, we're deducting our pre-sales, we get to the unsold rights of 3,770,000, and the bank looks at that as value and says, I will give you 50% as a loan amount. And 50% of 3,770,000 is 1,885,000. And again, we have to pay interest for that. So we're paying the interest of $226,200, leaving us with a gap loan amount of $1,658,800. So now I take the pre-sale loan amount from the earlier slide here. Hold on, oh no, it's not, I can't go back. But which was 3,306,000, and I'm taking this gap loan amount of 1,658,800. My total loan amount from the bank is 4,662,400. That is the entire loan consisting of the pre-sale loan and the gap loan that is made available to me as a number, as a as a funding source through these distribution components that I can now use to cover my cost of $10 million. So now I can go out and go find equity, go find other funding sources that we'll talk about in the week 3 finance source module. But this is the first money that I'm raising here that I can get from a bank loan. So that's what we're looking at for that component. We're going to dive much deeper into this in the week 3. So this is not all that is applicable to the bank loan and the pre-sale loan and the gap loan. There's more to it, but just as an example for you to, take the first little steps into what a bank loan could look like that is connected to the distribution elements of a project. This is something that I want you to look at, and then we'll dive into it next week with much more detail. So for this question that you have in quiz 2, you will look at this example and you'll apply the same steps in order to get to the total bank loan amount for the movie that in question 6 is going to be a $6 million movie. Everything else is the same, but everything will shift because the movie is now $6 million. So that changes the sales estimates, that changes the pre-sale numbers, of course, because it's all different, and therefore it's going to change the bank loan and the gap loan for you as well. So take a look at these steps when you apply them for the quiz and in order to answer that question.